That is how you get a win. That is how you dominate. Okay, Ravens. Lovely, lovely, lovely performance. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Ravens flock. The Ravens have won yet another preseason game. If there's anything the Ravens are good at, it is dominating and winning preseason games. And boy, was today's preseason game a domination. The Ravens traveled to Dallas to take on the Cowboys, and they went out there and set the tone from the get-go. We have a lot of things to talk about. I took notes. You know what? I think I'm going to be doing that moving forward with these recaps because there's so much that happens in the game. It feels like you just won't be able to get everything if you don't write it down. So I'm going to try to talk about as much as possible, highlight some of the things I saw from here, and overall talk about the performance that we saw because, man, that defense, woo, it came the ball. So let's get right into it. The Ravens took on the Cowboys tonight in their second preseason game. Cooper Rush returns to Dallas, and everyone's expecting it to be somewhat of an interesting matchup because he gets to go up against his former team. So how does this game kind of go? Well, to start things off, scoring doesn't start off from a field goal, nor does it start off from a touchdown. No kick returns, no punt returns, none of that. This game starts off with one thing and one thing only. A safety. Chandler Martin straight up just levels, and I mean he absolutely levels Joe Milton, who, by the way, played most of the game. We may talk a little bit about him because his performance wasn't exactly great, and I feel like there's a lot of work that he needs to do to get to where he needs to be as an NFL quarterback. But Chandler Martin just leveled Milton in the end zone, and that's ultimately what caused a safety, and that's what started the scoring today. So that automatically told me that the defense was on one today, and they were ready to put on a performance. You start the scoring off with a safety? Legitimately, you start the scoring off with a safety. That's crazy. That is crazy. But that is how we started things off today. Offensively, Cooper Rush, how did he do against his former team? 20 of 30 passing, 198 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 68.5. Now, we got to mention this. One of those interceptions was not his fault. It went off the hands of Rashid Ali and got picked off. So Ali didn't catch the ball, and that ended up being an interception. But the first one was absolutely on him. The corner baited him. He was looking for LaJohntay Western. Corner baited him. He threw it outside. Western's inside. Easy pick. Taken to the house. In fact, that's how the Cowboys got their scoring started, because it was a safety from our guys that got that sack. Like I said, Chandler Martin, he got that sack on Milton in the end zone. Safety starts it off. They're not able to move the ball offensively, which we'll talk about that. And then we get the ball back. We are able to move the ball with Cooper Rush. We get a field goal. It's a 5-0 game. They can't do anything with it. Again, we get the ball back, and that's when the pick six happened that made it a 5-7 game. And past that, it was virtually nothing going on for the Cowboys offense. So yeah, Cooper Rush, 20 of 30, 198, touchdown, 2 interceptions, passer rated 68.5. Not great at all, but it's decent. It's manageable. You know he's going to be the backup, so at least he was able to produce. Devin Leary actually had a pretty decent performance, and I felt so bad for him because he actually had the best throw he has made in any practice. The best throw he had made in any of these 2 preseason games. That should have been a highlight play, and the refs took it away. Devin Leary, 5 of 10, 53 yards passing, passer rating of 65.8. He had a throw that should have been a touchdown pass. He put it right in the hands of the receiver. It was a dime. Touchdown Ravens. The refs called it back on a BS offensive pass interference call because the receiver shoved a little with one of his arms. That is such a BS call because we know there have been many occasions where receivers push off a little with one arm and they don't call it. If it was a 2-hand push off, fine. A one-handed, that is routine. Both of the receiver and the corner are fighting for the possession. They are fighting with each other. So a brief push off with one arm is normal. It's a football play. It's fine. Y'all don't call those normally in the regular season. You call it here. All right. That took away the best throw Devin Leary had made in any of the 2 preseason games or in practice in general. That was probably the best play he had made. So he really needed that. Took away the touchdown. It is what it is at the end of the day. So yeah, offensively, not too much going on in the passing game, but there was still some highlights for some of these receivers. I'm glad that they were able to do better this time around in the second game, passing-wise, compared to what happened last week against the Colts. Speaking of that, I'm really happy right now. I'm really happy right now because I got to see Devontae Walker get the ball, and I got to see him do some things. 6 catches for 61 yards. In fact, he wasn't the only one. Devontae Walker, 6 catches, 61 yards. Anthony Miller, 4 catches, 55 yards. Dayton Wade, 4 catches, 45 yards. The receivers actually had opportunities to do something in this game. And Devontae Walker, man, it didn't matter who was in front of him. He had 8 targets, caught 6. He had 8 targets, caught 6 balls. 6 catches on 8 targets. 2 of them weren't exactly the greatest, which is why you saw he wasn't able to make those catches. But again, Devontae Walker was making plays, and that makes me so happy to see him make plays because I am hopeful that this guy can be an impactful player in this offense. And with the way he's been balling out in training camp and the way he performed today, I feel that he could get some reps in the regular season. And if he uses those opportunities to make some plays, it'll be great. So yeah, great to see the receivers get involved. Devontae Walker, Anthony Miller, Dayton Wade, those were just some of the guys that got involved. A few others did get involved. Charlie Kolar had some nice catches as well. So it was great to just see that the receivers actually had more opportunities to do something today as opposed to last week when it was just bad. The quarterbacks played so poorly. So yeah, that was pretty much it for the receiving core. In terms of the Cowboys, Joe Milton, 9 of 18 passing, 122 yards, no touchdowns, a terrible interception, passer rating of 48. Joe Milton has a lot of work to do. He has a rocket arm. He can definitely throw it with a lot of velocity and strength, but he's not consistent at all, and his accuracy needs a lot of work. He just be chucking it up there, and it's just 5 yards or 10 yards ahead of the receiver or 5 yards behind the receiver. He's got a lot of work to do if he's going to be successful as an NFL quarterback somewhere. So yeah, he's got work to do. He's got the arm talent, but there's no aspect of accuracy or consistency from him. So he's got work to do. He had those numbers through 3 quarters. Through 3 quarters, 9 of 18, 122 yards. Actually through 3 quarters and some change because he did play a little bit in the 4th quarter as well. But he was able to move the ball, but it wasn't by much. And then Will Greer came out, 1 of 5, 33 yards passing, not much there either. So yeah, it was really tough for the Cowboys offense to really do anything. And that's because this defense was on it. We talked about the receivers, talked a little bit about the running backs. Rashid Ali, he was there. I don't think this was the strongest performance from Rashid Ali. That interception was his fault, and he didn't really have a lot of explosive runs like we saw, or at least a lot of great plays like we saw in the first game. He was, kick returning as well. Rashid Ali, 19 carries, 62 yards. He was pretty decent, but I felt like he could have been better given what we saw from him last week, but still pretty fine. Dearness Johnson actually played really well as well today. He was part of the receiving group as well because he caught some passes. Dearness Johnson, I think same for Myles Gaskin. I think he also caught some passes as well. Either way, Dearness Johnson, 11 carries, 61 yards, and a touchdown. So he had a pretty good day. Pretty good day for Dearness Johnson. And he was also part of the return. He had a kick return for 22 yards. Rashid Ali also had a kick return for 25 yards. And then Myles Gaskin, 7 carries for him and 22 yards. And he was also a part of the kickoff. In fact, all 3 of our backs participated in returns. Myles Gaskin was the best of the 3. He had 2 returns for 69 yards. The longest was 38. So he had 2 really great returns. That's good to see there. But yeah, other than that, running game was solid from these guys. The receiving core got to showcase what they can do. Return game was pretty nice, but we didn't get to see anything from LeJontay Western because he had to call fair catches. The Cowboys really did a good job early on. When it came to Western, they did a good job on coverage and special teams. Western didn't really have a lot of opportunities to just take that because they got to him immediately. So good coverage by the Cowboys special teams unit when the ball was going to LeJontay Western. They had no interest in letting him get any sort of lanes. They shut him down and forced him to have to signal for a fair catch. He had to do that multiple times. So it's unfortunate he couldn't be able to showcase what he could do today, but we know what he's capable of. And it's clear that the Cowboys do because they did a great job on special teams coverage for that. They did not give him a shot. But yeah, we pretty much saw what the offense was able to do. The one thing they were able to do in this game was move the ball. They weren't able to score a lot and get in the end zone consistently, but they were able to move the ball, and that led to a lot of opportunities for a certain guy, which we will talk about next. I'm going to save him for last. Let's move on to the defense. Like I said, Joe Milton didn't really have a great performance. Will Grier didn't really have a great performance. Why? Because the defense was on it. Let's name some guys here. Jay Higgins and Ruben Lowry. Those guys are making strong cases to make the roster. Ruben Lowry has been the talk of training camp as the underrated guy that's making plays. He has multiple interceptions throughout training camp. And today, in this game, he got an interception off of Joe Milton. Jay Higgins has been making some noise in training camp as well, been making some plays. But in 2 preseason games, he's forced 2 turnovers. Last week, he had an interception in that preseason game. Today, he had a strip sack fumble. So in 2 preseason games, he's created 2 turnovers. He's showcasing himself to be well. Same for Ruben Lowry. I really wanted to point those 2 out. Those guys were at the top of my list on this paper because these 2, they really, really, really impressed me. They are making plays, and that is great to see for some young guys. They're going to make the roster, or at least I feel they should make the roster. I will be hurt if these 2 are not on the roster because they have been the 2 guys that have been standing out on the defensive side. For these young guys that are fighting for a job, these 2 have stood out. So I feel like they're going to make the roster, but we'll see. We'll see. It's about time to be getting some cuts soon, so we'll see. But I think those 2 guys, with the way they've played in these 2 preseason games and the way they've been talked about and been consistently making plays throughout training camp, I think they got a great shot to make this roster. Other than those 2, Malik Ham, he had a sack, made some nice plays as well. Mike Green didn't really do much in terms of stuff in the stat sheet. He only had 2 total tackles, but he really did a great job in pressuring the quarterback. And he forced Joe Milton to make a couple of uncomfortable throws. So really, when you take a look at the film and you look at the tape again, you're going to see the amount of pressure he brings. And that's really important. Because it's not always about collecting sacks, which of course you want to be able to get those sacks in the game. But if you can pressure the quarterback and force him to make errant throws and force him to miss throws and force him to make mistakes, that's great. When you take a look at this game, some of the errant throws, some of the mistakes, Mike Green is at the center of that because of the pressure he's putting on the quarterback to get the ball out of his hands quickly. So I'm really glad that Mike Green is still making his presence known even when he's not filling up the stat sheet, which is great because we need to be able to generate pressure on these quarterbacks, force them to make mistakes, force them to make errant throws, force them to get the ball to their hands quickly and potentially make a mistake that could be a turnover that could help out our offense to put them on a shorter field. So it's great to see Mike Green also being able to generate pressure here. Not too much from Malachi Starks, and the reason for that is no one wanted to test him. Joe Milton had no interest in throwing towards Malachi Starks. It just seemed like they were not interested in even trying Malachi Starks down there because he was ready for anything. So I didn't see too much of Malachi Starks. He was there, he was making plays left and right, but they weren't really looking to try him, weren't throwing in this direction. They weren't looking to test him. Unfortunate, because I would have loved to have seen them make a highlight play, but it also shows that they're starting to see what this guy's capable of. And you can see he's right there in the coverage. He's ready for anything. So that's great to see there. Other than that, there's not much else to talk about here in terms of the defense. We spoke about the offense. We spoke about the defense. We spoke about the quarterback situation over there in Dallas for their backup quarterback situation, which, I guess it's going to be Joe Milton. Not much to see there. And then we spoke about the return game. There's only one thing left to talk about. Tyler Loop. Tyler Loop had all the opportunities in the world. I said this. I'm the one that said this here. I think I tweeted this out. I also said it in one of my videos. Actually, I think I said it in multiple of my videos. I want to see as many opportunities of live game action for Tyler Loop. I want him to kick as many field goals as possible so that we can see what he's capable of, what he may need to work on, and what he is going to look like when it comes to dealing with game time pressure. This was a perfect situation to see what he could deal with. We're on the road in an opponent's stadium. So one, this is live game action. Live game action for Tyler Loop in an opponent's stadium. He had 6 field goal attempts. He was 5 for 6. His 2 best kicks of the day was from 51 yards and from 53 yards. He had a 51-yard field goal and a 53-yard field goal. He did miss one field goal. That was a 50-yard field goal, and he missed it wide to the left. I'm actually noticing this. When you take a look at his misses, they usually go to the left. He's not missing from the right side. It's constantly wide left, wide left, wide left. And it seems like he'll be sailing and drifting, and then he'll hit the post or just go past the post. So I think there's a bit of an adjustment that he himself has to make on those aspects, because if he makes that tight adjustment, he's going to be dead center every time. But 5 and 6 is great. Making 2 field goals from 50-plus yards in an opponent's stadium, great. I think he looked great tonight. Yeah, the one miss was unfortunate because he was having a perfect night up until that point. But again, he's looked great so far. He's looked great throughout training camp. He's looked great in the preseason. Just got to continue to stack up days and prepare yourself for the regular season matchup. So, yeah, I like what I saw from Tyler Lue. Anyway, dominating performance by the Ravens. Defense was on it. 6 points of offense given up. 6. The 7 points came from a pick 6, like we said earlier. 6 points of offense given up. They created 2 turnovers. They forced 2 turnover on downs. That defense, they forced multiple punts, few 3 and outs, multiple turnover on downs, and created multiple turnovers. Those guys were making some plays, and those young guys that are fighting for roster spots, some of those rookies out there as well, man, they were making plays. 6 points of offense from this defense. Love it. You gave up 6 points. Be proud, gentlemen. That was a great performance. Fantastic job. We'll see what you guys do next week. Anyway, that's it here for the second preseason game. We've got one more preseason game, and then it's showtime. Sunday Night Football in Buffalo against the Bills. The season is almost here. The regular season is on the way. Meaningful football is on the way. Lamar and the crew, they're on the way. It's time, guys. We got one more preseason game. And I talked about this a little bit earlier as to whether or not the Ravens should or may consider playing the starters. We may discuss that a little bit more depending on how the overall vibes are. Because again, the overall vibes are from the reporters in terms of how practice is going. Because again, they were supposed to have a joint practice this week with the Commanders. That got broken up. So will he choose to play the starters? It's up to John. It's his choice. It's his call. Will he choose to play the starters and give them a little bit of live game action before the regular season? Or will he sit back and say, you know what, we're fine, we're good, we're okay, we don't need it, we'll be good to go week 1. We'll find out relatively soon. We'll be talking about it this week. Anyway, guys, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we are out. I will see you guys later. Be sure to stay safe and peace out.